This is a production of Hollywood Impact Studios, a film school behind bars, and was filmed by our inmate students currently incarcerated inside the Los Angeles County Jail. Welcome to Studio 42, here in the Los Angeles County Jail in Castilla, California. I'm Gary Hall, co-founder of Hollywood Impact Studios. Today's show is From Prison to the White House, and that's quite a journey. We're going to be interviewing a special man to us, Henry Lozano. Henry, that's quite a story. Can you tell us your background and what that journey was like?
First of all, thank you, Gary, for this opportunity and for what you're doing here and for the heart of what this ministry is all about. I would suggest that my story, in most cases, would seem common to everyone. Maybe a little bit of an unusuality in the sense that I come from a house with great parents, a dad that was a decorated staff sergeant in the Second World War, Golden Gloves boxer, exhibition boxer in the war, and a mom that we call the General, you know. Good family. 6 months into junior college. Somehow I stuck my arm out, a little bit too drunk. Somebody stuck a needle in my arm full of heroin. And from that point forward, I literally lost 9.5 years of my life. Growing up where I grew up, obviously, and still is to this very day, a transit point for heroin smuggling across the border, right on the Calexico border, Arizona, Yuma. Everybody just presumes you just jump into this and it's your choice. You made that decision. You had that needle stuck in your arm. You could have said right there, no. Well, I have a whole different perspective on that because of my mom and dad. I had no intent to become a tecato, a heroin addict. I had no intent to do that in my life. No intent to destroy my family's name. No intent to find myself in county jails, in federal penitentiaries, and in other kind of situations, and to see my dad's name, Henry C. Lozano, in the local Imperial Valley newspaper, smuggling heroin across the international border. I did something unusual because I grew up, I had intent to be my dad's right-hand man and all of that, so I was one of those addicts that worked every day, 7 days a week. Drove semi all over, hauled grain, hauled heavy equipment, did all of that, sticking a needle in my arm all day long. And at night, Dad didn't know I was driving that cab across the border, smuggling heroin, calling it official agricultural business, you know. I knew all those folks on the border, grew up there, and I hadn't quite made that public scene yet, so people didn't really understand what I was doing. Hadn't been busted yet, so, you know, I wasn't hot. And I ran. I did all of those crazy things that you do. Started packing a weapon, started thinking I was something important. All of a sudden people coming to me, got married and had babies. You know, just insanity. I was that guy living in that house in El Centro, California, with 15 other people sticking needles in their arms in my dining table where my kids are playing with their games underneath that table.
So for how long were you doing heroin before you got arrested?
About 3 years. And the escalation was just profound. I mean, from a kid just having a needle stuck in his arm to all of a sudden within a couple of months, I'm trafficking. And I'm believing inside of me, this is the life. And everybody said, well, it was that time. That was the 60s, 70s. Everybody was doing that. No, everybody wasn't doing that. And I understood that clearly. And so for anybody today to tell me that, you know, these folks, they can quit anytime they want, they can stop doing what they want, I could have stopped every time, every day. Why didn't I?
At what point did your parents find out?
First time I got busted, you know, obviously a small community,
right.
You know, like I said, found myself in county jail and doing what I did. I was just busted the first time for being under the influence. Next thing you know, I'm busted on the border, international smuggling. Every time I was busted, every time, because of my background, my Catholic background, I'd get down on my knees and I'd pray. I'd ask God, help me, save me, get me out of this. I'll never do it again. that everybody calls today that jailhouse prison call, out to God to save your bones, And every time, first day I was out, didn't matter where it was, I was back in the spoon. My mom and dad used to come in to Terminal Island, brother, come in those big gates, and Dad would look at me and he'd say, "Man, you look good." Well, Dad was looking at a guy that was buffed out on purpose. I was going to protect myself inside that institution. Mom would look at me and my clothes were Bonnaroo. Had no idea I had to pay a half a carton of cigarettes to have that done, to my clothes. And they would just, they were so wonderful, so caring, so just believing that their kids are going to come back home and do good. They came up with my wife and my 2 boys to pick me up at that federal institution when I was released, brother. And within a matter of 5 minutes, driving to a restaurant to go have my first outside lunch, my wife passes me the bag. Now right there, after all of that praying and asking God to help me, I could have said, "No, honey, we're going to do something right. My 2 boys are looking at me. My mom and dad are in the car. And you're giving me the bag, lady." And all I could do is smile, an acknowledgement to my wife, an addict, that we were back on track. What a loss.